There has been billions of dollars spent in California to go green. Dreams of solar as the new way of doing things, getting rid of traditional power, like natural gas, oil, and nuclear, has been the ongoing pipe dream of the left in California and elsewhere for quite some time. And so they built this giant solar plant out in the desert, which has been an environmental disaster at every turn, killing thousands and thousands of birds per year. Literally, the air above this plant was so hot, birds that flew over this plant incinerated. It was insane. Well, the New York Post is writing today that $2.2 billion solar plant in California is now being turned off after years of wasted money. That it, quote, never lived up to its promises. Shock. Let's find out what happened here. Seen from the sky, the Ivanpah Solar Power Facility in California's Mojave Desert resembles a futuristic dream. Did it though? Viewed from the bottom line, however, Ivanpah is anything but. The solar power plant, which featured 459-foot towers and thousands of computer-controlled mirrors known as heliostats, costs some $2.2 billion to build. Construction began in 2010 and was completed in 2014, and now it's set to close just 12 years later after failing to efficiently generate solar energy. Oh, California. I love my home state, but it is run by giant morons. In 2011, the U.S. Department of Energy, under former President Barack Hussein issued a $1.6 billion federal loan in 3 guarantees for the project, and the Secretary of Energy, Ernst Moniz, hailed it as a, quote, an example of how America is becoming a world leader in solar energy. But of course, it was all a scam. Ultimately, it's been more emblematic of profligate government spending and unwise bets on poorly conceived, quickly outdated technologies. Black 88 E30, you said when I saw the Mirror Solar Farm being built, the first thing I thought of was that it's going to get really hot. And it did. I don't know if this article is going to cover it, because the articles we're going to cover today, I haven't actually pre-read. But it was incinerating thousands and thousands of birds mid-flight over it every year. Now let's continue with this article. Ivanpah, says Jason Isaac, CEO of the American Energy Institute, says, stands as a testament to the waste and inefficiency of government subsidized energy schemes. See, this stuff would never be built if the government wasn't pushing for it. All of this green energy garbage would never stand on its own. The technology is not ready to usurp oil and gas. It's just not. It's not even close. And he went on to say that it never lived up to its promises, producing less electricity than expected while relying on natural gas. Are you telling me it was relying on natural gas to stay operational? That... Why? How? That's amazing. So the solar power plant could only exist with natural gas powering it. That is too insane. Now, when Ivanpah, the New York Post goes on to write, began operating in 2014, it ranked as the world's largest solar plant, and it seemed like a viable solution to California's renewable energy goals of employing affordable and efficient technology to reduce the need for fossil fuels. Did it, though? I mean, maybe to the left-wing lunatics who were behind it. But I didn't. I mean, I know it's anecdotal when we talk about my own personal experiences, but I didn't know anyone who thought that this was going to be the future. But whatever. Now, it's located near the California-Nevada border, 65 miles southwest of Las Vegas. The plant's glowing towers are as striking as some casinos on the Strip. That's one way to put it. The facility, 5 square miles of desert, were covered with some 173,500 heliostats, adjusted via computer to catch maximum sun rays. The computer-controlled mirrors can reflect sunlight from the sun at temperatures that can reach 1,000 degrees in part of the installment. How did they think this was a good idea? Let's just blow up the temperature above our plant by 1,000 degrees. What were they thinking? Oh my God. Okay, that is... Wow, that is too good. Let's continue. The idea that you could use the sun to produce a heat source, alternative energy consultant Edward Smiloff told the Post, the mirrors reflect heat from the sun up to a receiver, which is mounted on top of the tower. That heats a fluid. It creates steam that spins a conventional steam turbine. It is complicated, and apparently wasn't worth the money spent. Now, though it sounds like a bit of Rube Goldberg contraption, and looks like an art installation, Ivanpah was, quote, cutting edge for a while. But as the market changed, it couldn't compete with newer and less expensive forms of creating solar power. Smiloff said it simply did not scale up. It's kind of an obsolete technology that's been outpaced by solar photovoltaic technology. The tech used semiconductors materials to transform sunlight into energy in a streamlined process. The solar energy panels you see on many residential rooftops or lined up in endless rows across the desert rely on this very technology. Oh, God. A statement from the NRG Energy, the Texas-based company that was an Ivanpah partner and the largest investor, having put up $300 million. Wow. Agrees with Smiloff, saying, when the power purchase agreements were signed back in 2009, the prices were competitive. That's only because they kept trying to reduce normal energy for this left-wing garbage. The only reason why any of this stuff was ever viable is you had the federal government propping it up, paying money to make this thing even competitive. It never was competitive. If we had an open and free market, which, by the way, we haven't, we've got crony capitalism today, not free market capitalism, this thing never would have floated. Solar panels, all this garbage would be in the dustbin of history because it is not there yet. It just simply isn't. No matter how much the government tries to push it, it's still not there. This is going to get good. So Ivanpah, the New York Post writes, hasn't just been inefficient and expensive, it's also been deadly for wildlife. Let's see what they have to say here. According to the Association of Avian Veterinarians, the power plant is believed to be responsible for at least 6,000 bird deaths each year. What did I tell you? 6,000 bird deaths each year. And by the way, I think that's actually a conservative estimate. I've seen higher numbers reported. But maybe it didn't have to be that way. A report published by the World Economic Forum, or the WEF, earlier this year noted that private investors can be more nimble with new technologies than the government. Unlike public market investors, private equity firms can implement a transformative changes through hands-on management and aligned incentives. Stephen Malloy, senior fellow at the Energy and Environmental Legal Institute and former Trump EBA transition team member, agreed, saying no green project relying on taxpayer subsidies has ever made any economic or environmental sense. It is important that President Trump stop the taxpayer bleeding by ending what he accurately calls the Green New Scam. Look. Someday this technology may catch up. But we're not even close. And in the meantime, because look at this. You've got these morons in government who think, golly gosh tree, we gotta save the planet. What if we just build these giant solar panels that heat up the air to 1,000 degrees? Because that's a good idea. Holy crap. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being one of these guys who's just like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea? Wow. So there you go, guys. Say goodbye to California's solar energy plant. Say goodbye to the killing plant for birds. I think the birds will thank the government for saying sayonara.